G'day mates, Mike here. With the 2024 AFL season finally coming to a close, now's the perfect time for me to throw my hat into the ring. Time for me to educate any Yankee f***wits who watch my videos about the greatest sport in the world. Today, I'll be ranking AFL teams from my least favourite to favourite. What? You thought I'd teach you the rules of the game? How can I do that when even the umpires don't know what they're doing? If you know me or have watched my videos before, you'll already know my favourite team. So this should be a straightforward list for any avid footy fans. Point is, I'll tell you which teams I like and hate in a particular order, plus I'll give some historical context for any newbies out there. Oh, and before we start, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. While I might say that I hate some teams, it's only really in the context of the game. At the end of the day, it's just that, a game. I have plenty of friends who support teams that I can't stand, but I don't let that start any ridiculous wars or anything. I mean, honestly, who'd be stupid enough to start a war over football?
Salvadorian troops invaded Honduras.
Anyway, let's get on with it. The next two teams are interchangeable based on season performance. Forget what I just said. This is the most obvious pick. Life is filled with polarization. These are figures or items which can cause a rift deeper than the Mariana Trench. Justin Bieber, ham and pineapple pizza, anchovies, Mike Phantom Phoenix. The AFL is no exception. In fact, its figurative anchovies are perhaps the most iconic in sporting history. The fact that Collingwood has the largest membership and fan base in the league, with over 110,000 members, is a testament to the widespread extent of Australia's culture of degeneracy and self-harm. Founded in 1892, they've been a thorn in the side of AFL fans since its inception. Rivalry aside, their fans are by far the worst in the competition. Okay, maybe not by so far. Due to their large presence, they have this habit of drowning out opposing fan bases with their cheers and jeers. Collingwood is the club of choice if you're a scab-ridden goblin who calls people N-word boys, N-word lovers, and, well, N-word anythings. Oh, and it just so happens that their former cheer squad leader is a convicted pedophile. And a gay one at that. Looks like you'll fit in just perfectly, Chancy Poo. Our rivalry with these is the most iconic rivalry in this nation's history. It's a shame our players don't really know that. This club has had one of the most annoying woods on us since we became shit in 2002. The only year I can remember us winning both games against them in a season was 2012, and we all know how we did that year. The worst moments I can remember are the Jamie Elliott goal to put us out of the 8, and the Mitch McGovern miss on Pendlebury's 400th. At least we have the wood on them in grand finals. And who could forget the famous collie wobbles? There's so much more to say about this abomination of a club, but I honestly can't be bothered to waste my mental strength and breath on the miserable magpies, so we'll just leave it at that. Up there, sailing, in there and fight. When I said Collingwood has the worst fan base in the league, I wasn't lying. But almost never in Australian sporting history has such a low been reached than in 2019 during the Anzac Day post-match ceremony, when Essendon fans booed just because they lost a close game.
Thank the crowd.
In my opinion, Essendon has the third worst fan base, which says quite a lot about the second worst. They like to whinge and cry about how shit their team is, just because they're consistently mediocre. Yet they take great pleasure in other teams they hate when they have a heartbreaking moment. Essendon is one of the big three AFL clubs, being pitifully brought into existence in 1872. They adapted the moniker of Bombers in 1940 due to their proximity to an airport, which was used as a military base during the Second World War. Though I say used in loose terms, because the airport was about as far away from the action as the Pitcairn Islands. Just so happens to be the same distance they're away from winning a final. The main reason I hate Essendon so much is because of the rivalry. For almost 23 years, we've been tied with them as the most successful club in VFL AFL history, with 16 flags apiece. But they've also had their fair share of low blows. They like to shit on us for our salary cap scandal, yet pretty much all AFL clubs at the time were doing it, including them. At least we didn't get caught deceptively using illicit performance-enhancing drugs. The club has been a constant mess of chaos, mediocrity and failure since their last finals victory in 2004. Since then, they've had 8 head coaches, 7 club presidents, and God knows how many CEOs, one even lasting a solitary day. And has that changed anything? Considering their lack of final success in the last 20 years, the club may as well fold. It says a lot about your football club when the only good thing about it is its YouTubers. I never used to mind St Kilda. They're the competition underdogs. Their fans are used to failure and incompetence. It's a team that has only won 1 premiership in its 151 years of continuation. As a footy fan who's seen nothing but incompetence and failure to the extreme, I can relate to the St Kilda experience. I could empathise with the suffering of fans such as Saints TV and Cardman 22. But then this happened.
A mark will do! A mark will do! It won't help here now! Sinclair, Jones, they keep it moving! Higgins snap! It's bending back! It's a goal! Higgins has kicked the goal!
You, Jack Higgins, you piece of shit, f***head, asshole. After that day, I realised something. If they're willing to sacrifice 2 spots in the AFL draft just to try to inflict their suffering onto other clubs, they really don't deserve any sympathy. There's a word that people use for those who project their flaws onto others and make fun of them afterwards. A bully. I had a hunch about the club as far back as 2020, but only now have I seen it. They say nice guys finish last, but clearly this isn't the case with these flogs. They couldn't even kick us out of finals properly. They're that shit of a football club. Their social media team is a knockoff of the GWS one. Every time they try to be as badass and witty as the GWS team, they only come off as disrespectful, scummy and obnoxious. I hope you f***ers never ever win another premiership. Certainly won't happen with an incompetent f***wit like Ross Lyon at the helm. At least they have a cool theme song. And the one time they were competent enough to win a flag was against the Pies. Moving on.
Up there, Cassini, in there and fight!
This is a team I've cut a little bit of slack for, now that they're back in their rightful position on the ladder. Nevertheless, Richmond have easily got the second most insufferable fan base in the AFL. The 2017 to 2020 Hardwick era was when Tiger Mania was at its absolute worst. All you need to do is check out the Wikipedia pages of any Dynasty era Tigers players, and you'll see what I mean. Ugh. The amount of times I saw Facebook posts from Tigers fans regurgitating the fact that they've won 3 of the last 5 premierships or whatever, it was just tiring. In fact, the only Twitter account I've muted in relation to the AFL is Tiger fucking Tom. I hate Tom Lynch too, by the way. Since their inception in 1889, they've managed to win 13 premierships, which is impressive, but they had a dry patch from 1980 to 2017, becoming known for finishing 9th in Dimmer's earlier years. A fan favourite moment for me was in 2013 when we broke their hearts in their first finals appearance in 12 years. If only we could have followed it up with a flag. My hatred for Richmond has waned a little, now that most of the players I hated in their dynasty years have either retired or have moved on to different clubs. I'm also quite fond of Adam Uze as a coach.
Up there, Cassini, in there and fight!
Here's another OG Victorian team. There are loads of them. It's as if the other states were allowed to hijack the VFL in a desperate and greedy attempt to make money. And these pricks want to say only AFL era premierships count. Get f***ed, you c***s. I liked the good old Demons. The D's, the Fuchsias, the Redlegs. In 2021, I even considered switching my support to them. I was sick of my team's mediocrity, and I was happy for them when they won their drought-breaking premiership after 57 long years. I honestly hoped they would back their success up with a possible dynasty. Then this happened.
For Motlop, May beaten to it. Now a chance for Hunt. It's a long ball towards Brown. Off hands. Melksham been terrific all night. Pickett kicks. Is it a point or a goal? It's a goal.
F*** you, Cozzy Pickett, you piece of shit, f***head, asshole.
Fuck you.
Yeah, a lot of my judgments for teams I hate come from recent times. At the end of the day, we only had ourselves to blame. But that doesn't warrant opposing teams acting like dickheads. Honestly, they didn't need to win against us. It's like Pickett kicked that goal out of spite or something. Way to inflict unnecessary suffering onto others. They didn't even capitalise on it in finals. Pathetic! At least we got our much-deserved vengeance.
Up they fly, Mark taken Akers. Runs, plays on. As he kicked the goal he has. Akers has done the game.
And these f***ing demon fans have the gall to feel entitled to their own revenge after that moment. God, no wonder you guys have the reputation for being obnoxious. You guys can't even be bothered turning up when you're shit. I thought Richmond fans were bandwagoners, but Jesus Christ! Overall, I used to like the D's, now I hate their guts. At least they gave me the best night as a football fan so far. Yes! Come on!
Up there, sailing, in there and fight.
Don't you just love the grand old game of footy? Don't you just love how it's umpired with honour, integrity and skill? If you're a Western Bulldogs fan, you'd argue that their triumph in 2016 was a combination of skilled, talented players alongside the tactical genius that is Luke Beveridge. To me, it seems more like the AFL gifted them a flag as a means of balancing out the success of bigger clubs such as Hawthorn. I'm not making any allegations, it just seems that way to me. The Bulldogs playing list just rubs me the wrong way. They claim to have all this talent on their list, yet they haven't managed to win a final since 2021. I don't know about you, but personally I don't like people who talk a big game, yet aren't able to back it up. At least it's satisfying to watch them fall.
Unbelievably, they are off the bottom of the ladder, the West Coast Eagles.
Nevertheless, 2022 gives me a bitter taste in my mouth, especially since they wasted their finals berth, just like Melbourne. I don't completely hate the Doggies, however. I'm a big fan of Marcus Bontempelli, their theme song is pretty good, and they have an actual bulldog for a mascot. How freaking cool is that? I'd be frustrated if I was a fan though. With only 2 premierships since its entry into the VFL/AFL in 1925.
Up there, sailing, in there and fight.
In 12th place, we have simultaneously the newest and the oldest of the 2 South Australian teams, the Power from Port. But Mike, why do you have them so low when they saved your season against Fremantle? Well, it's not so much the club that pisses me off. They have an illustrious history in the SANFL, achieving the ultimate prize an admirable 36 times since their inception in 1870. Such success has rarely been seen in worldwide team sports. I like the Guernsey colours and their moniker. Their pre-match routine is an inspiring and great way to empower their players to victory. And their constant jumper dispute with Collingwood always puts a smile on my face. Let them wear the prison bars, goddammit! Oh, and yeah, I like Ken Hinkley, he's cool. So why aren't they higher up on your list, Mike? Well, my problem isn't so much with the club, it's with some of the players. They have some of the most repulsive in the AFL. The comparison between Connor Rozee and Sam Walsh is insufferable. Zach Butters is an arrogant head who doesn't know how to treat people right. And don't even get me started on Jason Horne-Francis. Overall, I get a disingenuous vibe from the playing group. At least Travis Boak is cool.
Up there, Casale, in there and fight.
I hate the Brisbane Lions. Okay, that's a severe over-exaggeration. I don't hate the Brisbane Lions, but I don't like them either. They're a unique club. They're the only club in league history which was born from a merger between two previous teams. They are the Brisbane Bears and the old Fitzroy Lions. Fitzroy won 8 premierships in their era, while the Bears never lifted the coveted cup. I was born and raised in Queensland, so you'd think I'd like this club more. But I've had many bad experiences watching my team lose to the Lions. There was one night when I was watching with Dad and my sister, as the game slowly and tortuously slipped away from us. There was the 2023 preliminary final where we coughed up a 5-goal lead, preventing perhaps one of the most iconic 21st century grand finals from occurring. But in my opinion, my lowest Brisbane Lions moment came in round 6 of 2021.
Whoa. Carlton, the players, and you, David Teague.
Mum still talks to me about how much I paid for that jersey. It's not like it was an antique or anything, I still have my other one. Despite my many bad instances with the Lions, they're still a team I can get behind over many others. I just wish they could have gotten the job done in 2023.
Up there, Casale, in there and fight.
I don't care too much for the Adelaide Crows right now. Maybe that's because they're house, but I have no personal beef with them. Yes, they snatched Eddie Betts from us when he was in his prime. Yes, they annoyingly beat us in Bryce Gibbs' final game to block us from a finals berth in 2020. Yes, they were the last team to smash us by 100 points back in 2018. But that's ancient history. I feel the pain their fans felt last year when the Ben Keys goal was overturned without a score review. But it was better for us because we may very well have lost that elimination final to them. Either way, the Crows are okay.
Up there, Casale, in there and fight.
This club may come as a surprise to some. But in ninth place, I have GWS. I'll admit, Toby Green is an absolute grub and I hate his guts. We've also had our fair share of trade flops from them, but after their 2023 revival at the hands of Adam Kingsley and their incredible finals series, I felt somewhat of a connection with the club. They're the latest team to be established in the AFL, playing their first game against their crosstown rivals, the Swans, in 2012. Unlike the Gold Coast Suns, it didn't take them long to make their finals debut, finishing 4th on the ladder in 2016 and winning their first game against, of course, the Swans. Round 20 of 2018 comes to mind when I think of low moments as a Blues fan, but I didn't even think about footy back then, so for now I'd have to pick our last encounter with them, when they turned the game on its head after such a good start. What makes this game worse is the fact that it began a really annoying form slump.
Up there, Casale, in there and fight.
Another team that I only really like at the moment because they've been shit. The story of the 2024 Hawks is an absolute inspiration. Starting from 0-5, emerging from the darkness of the past few years, to winning a final and almost making it to a prelim is incredible. I'm a big fan of Sam Mitchell. In fact, I was keen on having him as our replacement for David Teague. But then, there's the culture. While annoying at times, I've seen worse. They have an admirable history, initially being called the Mayblooms of all names. Unsurprisingly, They were absolute hogwash during this period, because no sane individual takes a team with the moniker of Mayblooms seriously. It wasn't until 12 or so years after they rebranded to become the Hawks that they won their first ever premiership. Since then, they've won at least one in every decade, with the 1980s and the 2010s being their best. However, they've had one big shadow which I refuse to let go. During the Alistair Clarkson era, many of the club's indigenous players such as Cyril Rioli have accused the coaching panel of some quite disgusting, racist actions which the Hawks deny to this day. This kind of behaviour, if true, is absolutely unacceptable and should never be repeated. I hope the Hawks have learnt their lessons.
Up there, Casale.
As we ascend to the clubs that I'm more fond of, we arrive in Perth for my lesser of the two teams, the West Coast Eagles. I'll admit, I used to dislike them a little more because they were a consistent finals appearing team. It got kind of annoying. Add to that the aura of some of their players and especially their fans was a bit of a pain. Shut the f*** up with your Vic bias comments already. But they have my utmost appreciation for 2018, the best grand final of the 2010s, hands down, accomplishing what Brisbane were too incompetent to.
Up there, Casale. In there and fight.
Guess what? Another team who I'd probably despise if they weren't so talentless, North Melbourne. As a fan who's had to deal with nothing but disappointment, shame and embarrassment for supporting my club all my life, I fully sympathise with the struggles of North Melbourne over the past 5 seasons. The Shinboners, as many of them know them as, joined the league around the same time as the Hawks. Unlike the Hawks, they weren't anywhere near as successful, winning 4 flags. They've been one of the most disadvantaged Victorian teams, not even being able to provide their players with free parking on Arden Street. Countless times in the club's history, their existence has been under threat. From the merger era to a possible Gold Coast relocation, even today there are still calls for the mighty Kangaroos to fold. Yet they persist through it all, and it's quite inspirational. So for now, I'm willing to put the rivalry aside. I'm willing to put aside the 2021 loss and all those beltings we received from North in the 2010s, until they become good again, whichever that century will be.
Up there, Casale. In there and fight.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this right now. Only 1 or 2 other teams on this list are teams which I am somewhat attached to. In fact, this is a club I'd probably hate if our recent game margins were switched around. I'm of course talking about the Western Australian whipping boy of the AFL, the Fremantle Dockers. They're the newest of the 2 teams, being established in 1994. Frustratingly for their fans, the team was unable to make it into September action until 2003, 9 years after establishment. Since 2019, we've had a bit of a rivalry with them, winning all bar 1 game by mostly close margins. Many an iconic moment has come from said rivalry. The Mark Murphy banana, the Jack Newnes set shot after the siren, Matthew Cottrell and Kennedy getting bogus free kicks to seal the game, amongst many others. Yeah, it must be frustrating being a Freo fan, especially after all those embarrassing moments throughout their history. So bad has it gotten that they even coined a term for it, dockery. Thank goodness for their 2024 dockeriness, otherwise we wouldn't have made the 8. Take notes, St Kilda.
Up there, Casale. In there and fight.
The team that always makes the top 4. The greatest team of all. In 4th, we have the Cats. Ah, Mike, why do you like the Cats so much? They're always in the top 4. They've only missed finals twice since 2010. Well, my dear viewer, I like them for a few reasons. They're the second oldest current day AFL club, being founded in 1859. They're also the club which we won our last premiership against in 1995. Ever since they broke their premiership drought in 2007, I've found their consistency in staying in the top 4 to be admirable. It's a shame for them since 2011 they've only won one more premiership. Their finals record since then has been mediocre, winning 3 of 11 first week finals matches and only 2 of 8 preliminary finals. Nevertheless, I consider Geelong to be the benchmark for what a modern day AFL team should strive towards. Consistent success, an excellent playing group of talented people who work together as a team, an amazing long-term head coach and a stable off-field staff, willing to make changes if need be. Third is definitely a team I used to somewhat dislike, but they grew on me after they had a breakout season in 2021. To say I was disappointed and heartbroken to watch the 2024 AFL Grand Final is a bit of an understatement. To see the Sydney Swans botch it for a 4th consecutive time was frustrating, but at least now Lachie Neale is a premiership player. In a sense, Sydney is what Hawthorn could potentially become for me in the future, because I found their meteoric rise in 2021 to be exciting and inspirational. Despite some of his antics, I'm a huge fan of Luke Parker and the way he plays. I've also a soft spot for the likes of Tom Papley, Dane Rampy, Chad Warner. To be honest, I like most of the players at the Bloods, especially the ones like Aaron Francis and Brodie Grundy who left the clubs I hate. I will say, the Buddy Franklin trade definitely rubbed me the wrong way. Regardless, the club has an excellent identity, a beautiful kit and a great team song.
Up there, Crusading, in there and fight.
Could you say this is my second team because I pity them? Could it be because when I see them play away from their home ground, I don't see very many of their fans? Could it be because I want to see the club become more successful in growing the sport in the area and creating a new identity for itself? Perhaps. But my second favourite team at the moment is the smallest and second newest club in the league, the Gold Coast Suns. It makes me really sad watching them play away and barely hearing any noise when they kick a goal. So I'd like to encourage anybody who lives in Melbourne to go and watch Gold Coast games if they're playing against a team you hate. Go and show them some love. Make sure to bring the noise too. That's my reason for supporting the Suns. I want to encourage growth of this great sport in my home state, so that maybe the kid that's in the position I was in growing up could have a proper chance at making it into the game. Regardless, I do have some bad memories from Gold Coast games.
Play on the call, they're rabid in there. We're down to 18 seconds, right with a little give. Bose, yes! Bose puts it through!
2012 was particularly embarrassing, but even as a naive 12-year-old, I knew that we weren't going to win that game.
Up there, Crusading, in there and fight.
If you asked most avid AFL fans why they support their team, they'll most likely tell you it's because their parents or grandparents supported them. For me, however, this is definitely the case. I'm a die-hard Blues supporter because of my father, but my love for the club goes way deeper than that. I'm not going to go too deep into this right now. I have a video planned in the long term, and if you know me, that means it'll be in like a decade or two. I was going to make it last year when we lost 6 in a row, but stupid uni kept me preoccupied. Imagine making all these sacrifices for a useless degree which has gotten me nowhere but here. Anyway, in a world full of buttholes, people who would ostracize me, make fun of my behaviour and appearance, people who would punish me for whatever stupid reasons, there was one thing I had to preoccupy my time: footy. Whenever I was home, I'd break out the cheap, shitty replica rubber football which had a dint in the side of it and pretended to play. To me, Aussie rules was more than just a sport. It was my escape. Wearing my jersey or my school uniform while pretending to kick goals gave me peace and happiness. Luckily for me, we had an empty plot of land next to our house. 2, in fact. We moved to where we are now in late 2012, around about the time Mick Malthouse was appointed. Any Blues fan would know how that went.
Carlton have never lost by anything close to this now. Bruce doesn't increase it by much, so 138.
For a while, I lost interest in football. What's the point of watching a team always losing? No matter how devoted you are, all it does is mentally destroy you. So for a while, I forgot about it. In 2019, I was in a dark place. I was lamenting an awful relationship with a selfish the previous year. She'd broken me, turned me into a lonely, isolated mess. I'd restricted myself to listening to music all the time while imagining how things could have been. I'd lost all hope for my life and future, that I could turn things around. But then I rediscovered footy. I started watching a few wins that we had in that year and realised something. Slowly, we were emerging from the dark, damp cave of the Malthouse-Bolton eras. There was a new hope for a better tomorrow. And that is why I support the Blues. Because they're my symbol of hope, of the underdog fighting their way to the top through the power of hard work and determination. They've shown me that anything is possible, no matter how ludicrous it might look. It's through not only the club, but their many fans, such as Blue Abroad and Pommy and Oz, that I've learnt many of my life lessons. How to treat people, what type of attitude I should and shouldn't take into my life. Heck, the fandom gave me a sense of belonging in a time where I felt alone. I will always be eternally grateful to the club